Politics, a strife of interests masquerading as a contest of principles. The conduct of public affairs for private advantage. Logic, the art of thinking and reasoning in strict accordance with the limitations and incapacities of the human misunderstanding. History is an account, mostly false, of events, mostly unimportant, which are brought about by rulers, mostly knaves, and soldiers, mostly fools. Marriage, the state or condition of a community consisting of a master, a mistress, and two slaves, making in all, two. Happiness, an agreeable sensation arising from contemplating the misery of another. Conservative, a statesman who is enamored of existing evils, as distinguished from the liberal who wishes to replace them with others. Faith, belief without evidence in what is told by one who speaks without knowledge, of things without parallel. Painting, the art of protecting flat surfaces from the weather, and exposing them to the critic. Present, that part of eternity dividing the domain of disappointment from the realm of hope. Experience, the wisdom that enables us to recognize in an undesirable old acquaintance the folly that we have already embraced. Prescription, a physician's guess at what will best prolong the situation with least harm to the patient. Cynic, a blackguard whose faulty vision sees things as they are, not as they ought to be. Cabbage, a familiar kitchen garden vegetable about as large and wise as a man's head. Telephone, an invention of the devil which abrogates some of the advantages of making a disagreeable person keep his distance. Optimism, the doctrine or belief that everything is beautiful, including what is ugly. Forgetfulness, a gift of God bestowed upon debtors in compensation for their destitution of conscience. Perseverance, a lowly virtue whereby mediocrity achieves an inglorious success. Corporation, an ingenious device for obtaining profit without individual responsibility. We know what happens to people who stay in the middle of the road. They get run over. Who never doubted, never half believed. Where doubt is, there truth is, it is her shadow. Education, that which discloses to the wise and disguises from the foolish their lack of understanding. There are four kinds of homicide: felonious, excusable, justifiable, and praiseworthy. Future, that period of time in which our affairs prosper, our friends are true and our happiness is assured. Patriotism, combustible rubbish ready to the torch of anyone ambitious to illuminate his name. Jealous, unduly concerned about the preservation of that which can be lost only if not worth keeping. The gambling known as business looks with austere disfavor upon the business known as gambling. Abstainer, a weak person who yields to the temptation of denying himself a pleasure. The small part of ignorance that we arrange and classify we give the name of knowledge. Spring beckons. All things to the call respond. The trees are leaving and cashiers abscond. Religion, a daughter of hope and fear, explaining to ignorance the nature of the unknowable. Architect, one who drafts a plan of your house, and plans a draft of your money. Men become civilized, not in proportion to their willingness to believe, but in proportion to their readiness to doubt. Enthusiasm, a distemper of youth, curable by small doses of repentance in connection with outward applications of experience. Battle, a method of untying with the teeth a political knot that would not yield to the tongue. Dog, a kind of additional or subsidiary deity designed to catch the overflow and surplus of the world's worship. Ocean, a body of water occupying about 2/3 of a world made for man, who has no gills. Edible, good to eat and wholesome to digest, as a worm to a toad to a snake to a pig to a man, and a man to a worm. Trial, a formal inquiry designed to prove and put upon record the blameless characters of judges, advocates and jurors. Litigant, a person about to give up his skin for the hope of retaining his bones. Genius, to know without having learned, to draw just conclusions from unknown premises, to discern the soul of things. Pray, to ask the laws of the universe to be annulled on behalf of a single petitioner confessedly unworthy. Convent, a place of retirement for women who wish for leisure to meditate upon the sin of idleness. Impartial, unable to perceive any promise of personal advantage from espousing either side of a controversy. Eulogy, praise of a person who has either the advantages of wealth and power, or the consideration to be dead. Calamities are of two kinds: misfortunes to ourselves, and good fortune to others. Belladonna, in Italian a beautiful lady, in English a deadly poison. A striking example of the essential identity of the two tongues. A total abstainer is one who abstains from everything but abstention, and especially from inactivity in the affairs of others. Inventor, a person who makes an ingenious arrangement of wheels, levers and springs, and believes it civilization. Witticism, a sharp and clever remark, usually quoted and seldom noted, what the Philistine is pleased to call a joke. Bigot, one who is obstinately and zealously attached to an opinion that you do not entertain. Sabbath, a weekly festival having its origin in the fact that God made the world in 6 days and was arrested on the seventh. Friendless, having no favors to bestow. Destitute of fortune. Addicted to utterance of truth and common sense. Clairvoyant, a person, commonly a woman, who has the power of seeing that which is invisible to her patron, namely, that he is a blockhead. Deliberation, the act of examining one's bread to determine which side it is buttered on. Academe, an ancient school where morality and philosophy were taught. Academy, a modern school where football is taught. Ambition, an overmastering desire to be vilified by enemies while living and made ridiculous by friends when dead. Experience is a revelation in the light of which we renounce our errors of youth for those of age. It is evident that skepticism, while it makes no actual change in man, always makes him feel better. Absurdity, a statement or belief manifestly inconsistent with one's own opinion. Mayonnaise, one of the sauces which serve the French in place of a state religion. We submit to the majority because we have to. But we are not compelled to call our attitude of subjection a posture of respect. Creditor, one of a tribe of savages dwelling beyond the financial straits and dreaded for their desolating incursions. Duty, that which sternly impels us in the direction of profit, along the line of desire. Acquaintance, a person whom we know well enough to borrow from, but not well enough to lend to. Edible, good to eat, and wholesome to digest, as a worm to a toad to a snake to a pig to a man, and a man to a worm. Wit, the salt with which the American humorist spoils his intellectual cookery by leaving it out. I never said all Democrats were saloon keepers. What I said was that all saloon keepers are Democrats. Incompatibility. In matrimony, a similarity of tastes, particularly the taste for domination. Amnesty, the state's magnanimity to those offenders whom it would be too expensive to punish. Admiral, that part of a warship which does the talking while the figurehead does the thinking. Bacchus, a convenient deity invented by the ancients as an excuse for getting drunk. Eloquence, the art of orally persuading fools that white is the color that it appears to be. It includes the gift of making any color appear white. Genealogy, an account of one's descent from a man who did not particularly care to trace his own. Heaven lies about us in our infancy, and the world begins lying about us pretty soon afterward. Anoint, to grease a king or other great functionary already sufficiently slippery. Barometer, an ingenious instrument which indicates what kind of weather we are having. Vote, the instrument and symbol of a freeman's power to make a fool of himself and a wreck of his country. The slightest acquaintance with history shows that powerful republics are the most warlike and unscrupulous of nations. Fork, an instrument used chiefly for the purpose of putting dead animals into the mouth.